In Romans 12, before we read this, I was thinking about this. We want to get expert opinions in every area of our lives, don't we? It's called getting consultants. Okay, now there is a consultant, I'm convinced, for absolutely everything. Okay, so anyway, we're in the hospital, and right after the second one, Bronx is his name. He's a boy. He's a baby, like the thing. Anyway, so we're there, and anyway, I don't know what it was, something like with his tongue or something. But anyway, so we're trying. The key right away is to get them feeding, right? And if you've never had a kid, you're like, no. But anyway, for us to have, yes, you want to get them feeding. Anyway, so it was just not working very well for whatever reason. And so they said, hey, we've got I believe they're called a lactate consultant coming. Did I say the wrong word? Whatever, a milk consultant. We'll just call him a milk consultant. So I said, what? A milk consultant? And they go, yeah, like that's a thing. And I said, there is a consultant for absolutely anything. Like if you want to get yourself in shape, you can find a consultant that will help with your fitness. You know, if you're in business, there's a ton of business consultants. If you're a parent, you can find all kinds of consultants to help you parent. And you'll find a lot of people that you didn't hire or ask their opinion, and they'll tell you how to parent too. Also, churches. I mean, churches will hire consultants to help them because apparently God's not enough anymore. Anyway, but there's something for everything. And I guess the question that I ask myself is, in relation to this, in relation to me trying to follow this, is what does it look like to have a healthy life that's following Jesus? Like, what does that look like? Like, how do I have balance? How do I do this? Because I get asked that all the time. And we want that in our businesses, in our careers, in our marriages, raising kids. We want to know, how do I do this to the best? And if I'm doing something wrong, how do I identify what's wrong? And so in this, and in chapter 12 here of Romans, Paul, this crazy, incredible guy who's responsible for most of the New Testament, he's writing to this church in Rome, and everyone's talking about this church because for whatever reason, their faith is incredible, and this whole world without social media is talking about them. And so Paul is addressing them, and he's talking about them, and he just pauses here in chapter 12, and he just says, this is how we live this. It's huge. So if you're somebody and you're like, man, I don't even know, this is my first time ever going to church, or maybe you're someone that's like, I grew up in church my whole life, this is good regardless of where you're at. Or if you're just interested. Or if you're like, man, I want to learn how to call out Christians. Here you go. This is my gift to you. All right, so Romans 12:1. And it says this, and it'll be on the screen. It says, and so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all he has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind he will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him. So he says, I plead with you to present your bodies as a holy living sacrifice to him. You need to understand and know that historically in the Old Testament, when they would sacrifice to him, they would go find some animals. And they would sacrifice the animals, and it was like, okay, I just bought some doves. We're good. Okay, I got a cow. I did some major sin. We're going to have to hack up the whole thing. Okay? And they bring it, and they would sacrifice these as offerings to God. And what Paul is saying is now it's different. Your body is the sacrifice. And he's not saying, hey, go kill yourself on an altar. What he's saying is you have been given or gifted the body that you have. It's a gift from God. And here's the thing. Your body is just temporary housing. Right? So it's not like you don't pass on, like unlike your finances and stuff, you're not going to pass on your body to your kids. Like, there you go. Okay, some of you are like, thank goodness, okay, because that would be jacked up, all right? And so you don't pass it on. You don't take this physical body with you to the next life and all that. And when you watch, like, professional sports, and in particular, because the Olympics is coming up in Rio, and when you watch individuals perform in the Olympics, these are like the people that have reached the pinnacle of whatever it is they do in regards to the whole world. And so if you watch a long-distance runner in the Olympics, you will see their body do exactly what it's trained to do, because a lot of them have made their bodies their own slaves. In other words, they have taken ownership of their body, and their body now performs at such a high level because of how they've trained it and they've fueled it with the right food and done all these little things to peak right at the right time. And so God is saying, listen, this is an incredible gift that you have, your body, to steward, and it actually can be an act of worship as you use it for me. And so, and we look at this of just taking care of stuff. We have this neighbor, and I kid you not, you can ask my wife, okay? He bought this truck, and I have never seen someone dedicate more of their life into one thing in my life. I mean, like, we'll go home tonight after church, and I guarantee he's out there with like one of those electric buffers on it, because it might have sprinkled this morning. I mean, he spends more time on that truck than anything I've ever seen. He loves his truck. And so you think about yourself and your body as a tool, as something to steward, as something to take care of. So what do I need to do? Well, one thing you need to do is get some sleep. Get some sleep. You're like, wow, I came to church to hear that. Some of you need to get some sleep. Now, if you have a newborn, just ignore everything I'm saying. Okay, because your life, let's just be honest, it sucks right now. And you're not sleeping, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm pretty convinced that in hell, the background noise will be babies crying. I'm pretty convinced after having two now. But try and get sleep. We need to get sleep because we need to be healthy, because I don't know about you, but if you're on crazy lack of sleep, and I have the ability now to where we can start, controlling when I go to bed, but if I am not getting my sleep, and we're all different here in how much sleep we need, but you need to know how much sleep you need to be effective, to deal with people the right way, to deal with your body the right way, because when you're dragging, everything drags with you. Right? I mean, most of the fights that you have with your girlfriend, boyfriend, husband or wife, or coworkers comes from a lack of sleep. Like, a lot of times it's just like, why are we fighting? It doesn't even make sense. I didn't sleep last night. Well, neither did I. And you're just fighting because you're tired. It's really hard to use this in an effective way if you're tired. The other thing is exercise. Exercise, like get this thing moving, get it going. Like you need to do that for your heart and your health, and to help other things. Like, if you are just like, oh my goodness, and you are just like rolling around the house and all this, and you're always tired and everything because of how you're not doing anything physically to help yourself, you are not going to be able to help anybody else, because you can't even help yourself. You got to take care of it. You got to eat healthy. Like, carne asada fries once a week is not going to help. It's going to be really good, but it's not going to help. Like, we got to eat healthy, because those things all pour into our ability to use this in an effective way to help others, okay? Because there's going to be opportunities for you to help people move. There's going to be opportunities to do things. Like, if this is your church home, we have a setup and tear down crew that are awesome, and it's fun. We get together and we do this, and there's a lot of opportunities to use what God has given you. You have neighbors that are going to need help with something. There's elderly people in this world that you and your physical abilities and the body you have is going to be used to help them and encourage them in some way. And that can be an act of worship. And then in Romans 12:2, he keeps going. He says this: don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good, pleasing, and perfect. Okay, he talks so much about your mind in this book. I feel like, honestly, with Romans in this series we're in, I'm talking about it like every week. But I think when I see something repeated, I go, well, okay, obviously they want me to read this and to notice. And I think the key is because whatever happens up here is the direction the rest of my life naturally goes to. And so the battlefield, as Paul has already talked about, is going to happen right here. And you need to understand and know that if this book isn't dictating this, everything else is dictating this, which is dangerous and scary, because if you just think everything is designed right now in marketing and media to get you to look and then to get you to think about it later. to notice it, and to capture your eyes. And everything on this earth is fighting for that. When you think of the headlines, when you think of billboards, when you think of commercials that get you to notice and then it sticks. Like, have you ever seen a commercial for fitness equipment? It does not have anybody out of shape in it. It's like the most fit people in the world. I have a buddy who actually, he's like, I don't even know if what they call him. I always make fun of him. He's a fitness model, I guess. Anyway, I'm like, okay, dude, whatever. Anyway, and so he like he'll be in these commercials, in these magazines. And I'm like, he's never touched that in his life. But they're not going to just put me on there. They're going to put somebody that looks amazing. And we're all going to go, if I just do that, I'll get that. Oh, yeah. Like when you drive into Vegas or you just land in the airport at Vegas, you will be bombarded with billboards and signs. And guess what? Everyone is smiling like they just won. Everyone. You do not see billboards of the Steve Goebbels of the world leaving Vegas like this, going, I wonder what my wife's going to find out about. I hope she doesn't try that credit card. You never see that. You see everyone is winning. They're happy. I mean, if you drive there, you're just like, honey, this is going to change our lives. I know, and God's going to use us. And we're going to tithe off of our winnings. Right, God? No, you're not. You're going to lose it all. And then we're going to go back. But you don't see that on these billboards at all. When you look at like, I see these, when I see like advertisement for either marriage seminars or like baby or parenting seminar, I just laugh because you see this husband and wife and they're just like interlocked in a way that no one does that. Like no one does that. Nobody is just like, no, maybe you do that. If you've been married like over 5 years and you're still just holding each other and just like, you're different. You should be doing the marriage seminars because that's crazy, okay? Because it's like now if Lindsay and I are holding each other, it's like, are they asleep? Okay, I'm going to go to bed now. Like that's the extent of like, and it's like date night, oh my goodness, like date night is a miracle and it is the most amazing thing in this world. But you see that and they advertise like if you do this, your marriage will be like this. And parenting, oh my goodness, parenting. I had someone invite me to do a parenting thing. First, I was offended. Second, I said, listen, I know your kids. Like I know your kids. Okay, now listen. Once you've had kids, and if you haven't, just know this. It is 100% luck. It's not, it's God. But it really is like you don't know what's coming. Like you can do everything. And I remember when our firstborn, we were like this. Lindsay had all these plans, all this. And she's like, I'm getting books and stuff. I'm reading books on being a dad and how to handle this and all this. And then we had our firstborn and I just went like this. Because I was like, none of this works. Other than the rocking techniques. That's it. And then the next one came. And everything that worked with the first one didn't work for the second one. So then I'm like, oh, it didn't work. But we don't see any of that. It's funny because, and I love kids. I love my kids. So just hang with me. But it was really funny. So we were in Ohio a couple weeks ago. And anyway, because that's where Lindsay's from. And we were on the way back and we were flying Southwest. And so Southwest, when you fly Southwest, you get to pick your seat. And so on our flight back, we were flying from Cleveland to Phoenix, which was just a horrible flight with kids. So Cleveland, it's like the U.S. It's like flying the whole U.S. So Cleveland to Phoenix and then Phoenix to San Diego. And so we're like, we just got to make it to Phoenix and then we're good, okay? Because then that's just a short one. So we land in Phoenix and the stewardess, they like us because our kids were actually good, which was awesome. And anyway, so we're there. And we're in Phoenix, and so now I'm like making fun of all kinds of stuff, and I'm talking to the stewardess, and I goes, hey, watch this. So I grab Bronx, who's my second, and he's like 6 months, and then I grabbed Kingston, and we stood in the middle of the aisle in the back. And I said, watch this. And I mean, I kid you not, it was like Moses parting the Red Sea of people finding seats to stay away from us. It was repellent. because they saw what looked like the worst flight ever if they came back there. And so I'm just holding my kids and yeah, come on back. This is where the fun happens. Yeah. And but I mean, all these things are geared and designed to get us to go after and to look for things. And one of the things, it's funny right now, I'm doing this like experiment, like where I'm trying to like eliminate all these outside influences, just the noise really of all these things for a little while. And it's just been so amazing. But I go back to this and I go, because we get so caught up in everything that's bombarding us all the time. And it's designed to do that. It's designed to get our attention. And I come back to this and I don't know about you, but sometimes I just get exhausted trying to be all these things and do all these things and live up to all the billboards and the headlines. And I can't. And then I read this and I open this. And it just kind of like calms me. It recenters me. And I read verses like that just say, then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. And I go, so wait, if I just start reading this and allowing this to soak into my mind, then I'm going to start understanding and knowing God's will for me. I'm going to start understanding peace, and it's going to be good. Like, sign me up. And Paul's saying that that's the characteristic of a Jesus follower. That should be the characteristic of me. Someone that is not just absolutely just getting destroyed by all these things that are put in my face, but someone that can just sit down and go, man, God is so good. This is so cool. This is going to change my life. Wow. And then he keeps going in Romans 12:3, and he says this, because of the privilege and authority God has given me, I give each of you this warning. Don't think you are better than you really are. Be honest in your evaluation of yourselves, measuring yourselves by the faith God has given you. Be real with yourself. Okay, now listen, because we hear this all the time. Like, one of the visions for this church when we launched it was to create the most real and authentic experience someone has throughout the week. Because typically, from my experience, church was the least authentic and transparent place that I would experience. And I go, man, if we're going to do this, let's create a place where people can just be real, be who they are, be transparent with each other, and just maybe they'll like that. And just maybe it'll catch on. Because that's what we want. In all our real relationships, the thing that makes them special is the ability to just be you. And what Paul is saying here is, listen, yeah, the whole world's talking about your church and all this, but quit thinking you are this or that. Have a real estimation of what you really are and who you really are. And I tell you what, that's a message that we just need to shout out from the tops, because I don't know about you, a lot of times I meet with people and I'm like, man, they think they are just all that. Like, they think they are like the gift to this world. And it's like when someone thinks they are just like all that and they think they're just like so spiritual because they can quote a verse, or they read their Bible this week, or they listen to this guy or that, and they walk around like, man, path of righteousness is so nice. And I mean, they pray and it just sounds so good. And all this. I'm telling you what, when you see someone that's not authentic acting that way, they stink. I mean, they stink. You don't want to be around them. You question everything about them. I mean, they stink. I mean, I coach junior high boys basketball. I know what stink is. Okay, like, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, they will sweat it up. They will come into that locker room, and I don't know who came up with this idea, but someone in their circle said, hey, if you put deodorant over the body odor, it'll solve it. No, it doesn't. It creates a different and worse smell. And they stink. And sometimes, man, there's people, and they just start talking about God or their faith, and I just want to get away from them. Because I'm like, man, that's not real. You're not being real with who you are, with where you're at in your journey. And listen, there's times when I doubt. There's times that I struggle. There's times I don't have the answers. There's times I read this and I go, man, I just don't get this. This is crazy. And I need to be in a place and I need to be around people where it's okay for me to process and go through this journey with God. And one of my greatest fears in our world, in today's world, is that we're like, you have to arrive and you have to be here and sound and look like this and quote this and post like this. And if you can't do that, then there's something wrong with you and you don't measure up. When everything I read about and hear talks about this incredible journey with God. It is a journey. It's such a journey that this guy who wrote this earlier talked about how jacked up he was. And yet he was allowed to write in this. And then he says, if you want a real estimation of where you're at with God, ask yourself, how much faith right now are you living out? And where are you living by faith in your life? You want to call someone out? I don't know why I'm saying this, because then you're going to ask each other. I'm never going back to that church. They ask me uncomfortable questions. So just think about it. Don't ask anyone after church. Otherwise, like, this will be cut in half. And we're a church plant. Like, don't scare people away yet. Okay? But if you ever just get called out by someone, or someone's like starts like going at you, which you shouldn't do, and they start doing that, just say, hey man, so where in your life are you living by faith right now? Okay, well, I mean, I read that that's how you know you have an accurate estimation of who you are and where you're at is, are you living this out? Are you living by faith? Because it's really easy to talk down at people when your life's going really good. It's really hard to be vulnerable and real when life tags you. It's hard and it's difficult. But that's the beauty of this. We get to ride the journey together. And that's what Paul's inviting them all to. So he keeps going. In Romans 12, 4-8, it says, just as your bodies have many parts and each has a special function, so it is with Christ's body. We are many parts of one body and we all belong to each other. In his grace, God has given us different gifts for doing certain things well. So if God has given you the ability to prophesy, speak out with as much faith as God has given you. If your gift is serving others, serve them well. If you are a teacher, teach well. If your gift is to encourage others, be encouraging. If it is giving, give generously. If God has given you leadership ability, take the responsibility seriously. And if you have a gift for showing kindness to others, do it gladly. Okay. There are books, and there was a book that I was given, and once again, I was kind of offended by it, but I received it. It was a book on how to run. I was like, really? But I don't know about you, but if you've ever gone into a fitness center, okay, so I mix it up. Sometimes I'll be outside. Sometimes I'll go to a fitness center, and you go to a fitness center, or you're driving your car and you see someone running, or you're in the fitness center and you go up to the treadmill section and you see somebody on a treadmill. I don't know about you, but have you ever seen somebody and it looks like every single body part is fighting each other? It might be the ugliest thing you've ever seen. I mean, their feet are, it sounds like someone's hammering to the floor, and their arms are like, or they're just like not moving, and their head, it's like they can improve their speed with their head. It's like a dolphin or something, okay? And so you see this, and you go, man, that looks wrong. That's why they have books on how to run. And you look at that, and it's funny because I look at things like that, and I go, now, from running a few races, and by no means do I look good, so don't go look at me. But you now know that potentially they're hurting themselves. And second, they're actually hurting their speed and their ability to go faster. And honestly, it just looks weird. When this church, because in this church, there are people with all kinds of giftings in this room. I mean, it's awesome. It's amazing. And we all have different giftings that are given to us by God. And when we're like, oh, it's about me, or I'm doing this, or oh, I don't know, I don't want to do anything there. I just want to like observe or whatever. And that's fine. I'm talking if you're like an attendee and you come here consistently, our body looks just weird to people if we're not fulfilling our bodily functions, if we're not all doing our purpose that God has given us to do. And it's like, it either looks like the Olympic athlete. Like if you watch Michael Phelps swim, it's just like, oh my gosh, like he's got flippers. That's crazy. If you watch like the NBA Finals is on, if you watch Stephen Curry shoot a basketball, everyone's like, oh my goodness, because it looks amazing. I remember in baseball, Ken Griffey Jr., his swing was just like, it looked amazing. And it looks amazing because everything is going how it's supposed to. The body is responding and doing something physically how it's supposed to. Some of you are in construction, and I am amazed at how you handle tools, where I handle tools and it's all conflict and confusion with everything in me, and you're just bam, bam, boom, boom. Your body is trained and you know where things go and what to do. And I look at you and I'm just like, that's amazing, okay? But you've got it, everything trained and everything's fulfilling its purpose and its design. The church either looks extremely dysfunctional like the person on the treadmill, or it looks like this Olympic athlete. And the difference between the two is me and you. See, it's not God, because God blesses, the church. It's his bride. He wants it to succeed. So it's not God. God's the one who's given these people to these churches. It's not God's fault. It's on me for like me just going, I don't know. But when I engage with God, oh my goodness, it's an amazing, amazing thing. It's amazing. And he talks about some of the things. If you're somebody that can speak God's will through faith, do it. If you're serving others, like serve it up. Okay? If you love doing that, if you're a teacher, teach. If you like to encourage people, we all need people to encourage us. I mean, we all need that. I would not have planted a church if I didn't have people encouraging me along the way. We all need encouragers. You would be amazed, because some of you are like, man, I don't really know if I have that much of a gift. Well, if you just love to encourage people, God is using you dramatically, because there are so many times when someone's wheels are about to fall off and someone comes up and just says something kind, encouraging, and all of a sudden, everything in their life, everything in their mind changes just because of that one specific phrase that someone said to them. And it's crazy. There's so much power in that. Give generously. Listen, there are people with the gift of giving that come here. There's people that give here, and it's not just financially to a church, but it's all over. But I'll just say specifically, because I felt it, this church is still here because of people with the gift of giving. Like we have people that just believe in what we're doing, that have the gift of giving, and they're like going to other churches. They live in different parts of the country, and all of a sudden they send in a check, and it's just like, June, baby, woo! July, here we come. But it's like, that's how it happens. And people are just generous and they give. Leadership ability, man, lead. Like this church was not started like for me to go, oh, I love me, I'm gonna start a church, yeah. Like this was the last thing in the world I wanted to do. And we need leaders, we need people that are going after that and that are all about leading others. If it's about, when you talk about showing kindness, I love this. It says, do it, if you like to show kindness, do it gladly. Have you ever had someone do an act of kindness and then they make you feel guilty about it? And you're like confused, like you walk away confused. Because they offered to help you, and then they're like complaining about it later, and you go, I thought we were in this together. I thought you were wanting to help me. He says, if you're going to help, but do it with the right attitude. And I'll just say this, and this is in particular for people that have been attending here and say, this is my church home. If you're like in process, if you're like, I don't know, this or that, just ignore me on this. But if this is your church home, and let's say you've been here since we've launched, are you fulfilling these giftings more now or less? And just ask yourself, is there more growth there or is there less? And do something about it. We're going to finish with this. In Romans 12, 9 through 13, it says this: don't just pretend to love others. Oh, yeah. Don't just pretend to love others. Really love them. Hate what is wrong. Hold tightly to what is good. Love each other with genuine affection and take delight in honoring each other. Never be lazy, but work hard and serve the Lord enthusiastically. Rejoice in our confident hope. Be patient in trouble and keep on praying. When God's people are in need, be ready to help them. Always be eager to practice hospitality. Don't just pretend to love others. Really love them. I love that. I love it. Do you really care? When you ask, hey man, how are you doing? What's going on in your life? Do you really care? See, what makes, when Sam got up here and hosted and said, hey, greet each other, welcome each other, whatever. The difference is when I greeted someone and said, hey, what's up? Do I really care what's up? Or am I just like, because some dude on stage said, talk to someone, am I just, But when I do that, it's an opportunity to just like engage and encourage someone or meet someone. And the question, that I have, especially for us to say, hey, man, I'm a Jesus follower, I'm a Christian. Do you really love people? Do you care? And here's the other thing that I just want to highlight, and this is huge, especially when I think about what happened in Orlando. It says this: hate what is wrong. Okay? Now, some of you have absolutely never heard the Bible or a preacher say hate is good. You should hate evil. You should hate it. What happened in Orlando should bother you, should sicken your stomach, and you should hate what happened. You don't hate the person, you don't hate the people, but you hate the evil. And we're called to hate evil. And so one of my questions is, does what's wrong, situations that we just know are wrong, does that bother you? Because I feel like there's two ends of the spectrum. There's either the person that is bothered by anybody and everybody, or any thought that differs from them. And then there is the person that just doesn't even care. And either one of those, oh my goodness, you're just missing it. Because the person over here is like, oh, it doesn't matter. Everybody can do whatever they want. Everything's going to be happy. And we're all going to just, yay, have a camp out. And everything's going to work out. It's going to be good. Well, no. Life doesn't just do that. So then I'm like, man, you're not even true. And then the person over here, I'm like, you're angry. You're mad at everyone. You've got something against these type of people or this type of person. Or just because you disagree with someone theologically or this or that, you've got the right to toss grenades. And here's the thing, like social media is just like, it has become the easiest platform to launch a grenade into someone else's life and have zero repercussions. And I'll just say this because it drives me nuts. When Christians post their opinions in contrast or against someone else, and they're going after that person, you need to know, because I see this, because people send me stuff and all this, you're not actually doing this right. Okay? Because what's happening is you're actually gossiping. Because everyone sees that. Everyone. If you got a problem with someone and you really believe in the problem you have with them, go to them, call them. They have a thing called Messenger because everyone sends me the sign up for it. They have a thing that you can directly message them. Directly message them. Just say, hey, I got a problem. I got a problem with this. I got a problem with you. Can we talk about it? That's great. That's good. That's fun. You didn't just rile up a crowd of people that just want to be riled up. And like, man, I hear all the time, like, man, if you read this, you're just supposed to love everything. No, there's evil in this world, and you should hate it, and it should bother you. And that bothered me, man. This morning, man, I was praying about it, and I was just like so disturbed that someone could premeditatively do something that horrific. It just blows my mind, the depths of evil that's out there. And it just gave me like more urgency with what we're doing. And when you're close to God, things like that bother you. And it says, hold tightly to what is good. Hold tightly to what is good. And then it keeps going. It says, don't be lazy. Woo! Don't be lazy. I'm going to tell you right now, the number one way to lose people's respect is be lazy. 100%. Like that will be the quickest way. If you work somewhere, you're in an office type setting and you are lazy, please don't say you go to this church. Like make up a different church. Just say you go there. But don't say you go here, please. He says, work hard. Don't be lazy, because like Paul knows, like nobody respects someone that's lazy. Nobody. You cannot like act like you're this or that and then go home and just be this lazy person. Your kids won't respect you. Your spouse won't respect you. You can't be at a church and walk around a church and just be like, oh yeah, good for you, but I'm this great. Like man, no, you're setting a bad example. And if you're at work, like you are around all these people. And listen, we all come into a space like this with different backgrounds. Some of us have been burnt by churches. Some of us have never been to a church. Some of us have heard this about a church. Some of us have been to the most amazing church. But we all have these things that we bring in here. And I'll tell you what, you want to wreck someone's view of God, be lazy at work. I mean, that will wreck it, because you have just lost your platform to talk about the hope that lies within you, because they're like, whatever is in you, I don't want. Because, dude, I don't even want to work with you. Why would I want to go to some place and worship God with you? No. I love that he addresses that. And it said, verse 12, it says, be patient and in trouble keep praying. Be patient and know that God has got this. He's got this and he's got you. And I love it because, we've been talking about Romans, and one of the quotes that I've been saying is, nothing can separate us from the love of God. Absolutely nothing. Nothing can separate you from the love that he has for you. And so you need to take that, own that, and go, man, I've got confidence in this. And when things are struggling, when life is troubling and it's hard, be patient and trust and pray in him. And here's the thing. Don't put whether God is good or not, and do not put that on if he operates on your timetable. Because there's so many times we go, if I do this, God has to do this. No, he doesn't. He says, be patient, trust him, and pray. Like he's got your best interest in mind. He's not up there. We talked about this last week. He's not up there going, hey, how can I make their life more miserable? Well, I could do this. Man, that would really cause them to dislike me. You think our God's schizophrenic? No, he's a good and loving God, and he loves you so much. He says, be hospitable to people. It's when people would travel back in these days, it was dangerous. There wasn't a lot of places to stay. And the places that you could stay, a lot of times they'd rip them off. And so one of the things that this church was known for in the early churches, they were known for having people into their homes. And I just want to say this, if you say, I love Jesus, if you say, hey, I'm all in with this and all that, well, then you should be having some people into your home. One of the things that we really struggled with, Lindsay and I, when we first planted the church, we moved into this small place in Mission Valley. Some of you have visited us there, and we gave you the tour, and the tour was, hey, and it was awesome. And it was hard, though, because it was small. It was hard to get to, and parking was rough, and it wasn't hard because it was like, oh, we're such martyrs, oh. It wasn't that at all. It was, we love having people in our home, and it was hard to have people in our home. I love being able to have people into our home. Like I love my kids seeing people coming into our home. I love associating parties and love and fun with God. And I want my kids to grow up not going, man, this is a big, long list of have-nots and should-nots. It is a gift to us, to this world that talks about experiencing the greatest love imaginable. And out of that, we love having people in our homes. We love hanging out. We love parties. I don't know where it came from that Christians can't party, don't party, shouldn't party. We should be living it up from the party spectrum. Write that down. I mean, come on. Enjoy this. As we close, yesterday I was reading with Kingston. We have this little, he's 2.5 years old. And we have this little Bible for him. And really when it's a kid's Bible, it's cool pictures of the stories, like with Adam and Eve, it's this massive snake, and it's these cool things, And I was walking him through, and it gets to, in his little Bible thing, it gets to Jesus' life. And so I started having him say, Jesus. And so I'd say, hey, can you say Jesus, Kingston? He'd go, Jesus. And man, I can speak baby pretty well. I would say Jesus, and he's Jesus. And then I was like, this is baby Jesus. And he's like, baby Jesus. And then I would say, and this is Jesus, like man, full man Jesus. Because we all watch Talladega Nights, and now he's going to pray to baby Jesus and grown up Jesus, and rock star Jesus. Anyway, and so as the pictures go, like it does some of the stories with Jesus, and I kept pointing Jesus out, but then like it moved on from Jesus and does like the apostles and that. Well, guess what? Kingston didn't move on. So every male with a beard for the rest of the Bible is Jesus. It's just Jesus. No, I'm like, no, that's not Jesus. No, it is. It's Jesus. Jesus. No, it's not. And you know what? I sat there and I just had this moment. And every person for the rest of the book, there was a dude that had a beard, which is like apparently all of them. He called Jesus. And I sat there and I went, my kid is onto something. Because you know what? When Jesus came up out of the grave, guess what? He conquered sin and death. And he's alive. He's alive today. That's why we sing. That's why we worship. That's why we come here and do this. He's alive. He's active. He's well. And you know what? My son's pointing out all these people, and he's associating all of them because of their image. He's associating them with Jesus. And in that moment, I go, I hope people are pointing to me and going, Jesus. And it was like, well, there's my devotional for the day. Thanks, 5-Minute Bible. It blew my mind. The thought that my kid is pointing all these people out that he thinks look like Jesus. And I go, man, what if that was the church? What if that was these people that claim, I believe this, I'm all in with this. What if people, they could just notice and they would see and they would go, Jesus, 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 that girl's Jesus, that boy's Jesus, that man's Jesus, that kid's Jesus. Just by their actions and how they lived and how they loved. And that's the point. Like, that's the point. If you walk away thinking, oh man, I've got another list of all these things to do to be right with God, like just stop. Just embrace him. Just love him. He loves you. He's cared about you. He's known you. He formed you. And he says, you're enough. Receive it. Just look at Jesus' life, man. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It's a story of love and grace and truth. And as you walk in that, you're going to be blown away by who God is and how he loves you and how he loves others. And your life, people, little kids are going to point to. And they're going to say, Jesus, Jesus. Let me pray for us. God, thank you. Thank you for not closing this book on our lives. Thank you that the Bible, when it was completed, thank you that it was just only the beginning of the impact it would make. Lord, I pray that you would forgive us for making this book about all these other things when at the core and at the heart of everything it is your words to us. And it points back to an incredible God and creator who loves us so much that he would willfully give and pay a penalty for each and every one of us that we could never pay for ourselves. So Lord, thank you for the reality of that. Thank you for the reality of who you are in our lives, that you're moving, that you're shaking, that you're connecting with us, that you're exposing your love to us, that you're protecting us, that you're giving us grace and mercy, that you're forgiving us. And Lord, for some of us, we've just never even received that. Lord, I just pray that we take a moment right now and just say, God, I love you. Thank you for knowing me when I didn't know you. Thank you for seeing me when I didn't see you. And thank you for standing by my side when I continued to act and say and do things that were the opposite of you. And yet you stood there with your arms wide and just said, hug me, embrace me, and love me. Thank you for that. And it's out of that, God, that we just worship you now. In Jesus' name, amen.